Hey everyone. Um, I'm Lily, and this is my mom, Elisa, for those of you that don't know us. Hey mom, how are you doing?
Good. I'm great. How are you, Lils?
Good. We're super excited to be doing our second live stream of the What's Underneath project. For those of you that don't know, the What's Underneath project is a video series that we've been doing on our YouTube channel for years, where we speak to really inspiring, incredible role models of all different ages and body types and races and genders and sexualities and everything. And as we're interviewing them, they're slowly undressing until they're in their underwear, as a symbol and a metaphor for claiming self-acceptance and showing that true beauty and style is about being comfortable in your skin.
Hello, peace, greetings.
How are you?
I'm feeling really wonderful. Great day
Yeah,
today.
that's awesome.
So I just wanted to explain to you that this is an organic conversation, and you should just feel free to ramble. You're not making a speech. It doesn't require anything of you but the truth.
That's right, which is readily available.
Okay.
That's rare.
Yeah, and it's an honor, truly. So can you now talk a little bit about what you think your style says about you?
Yes, my style says freedom, it says queen, it says goddess, and it says earth woman. Yes, that's what it says.
And can you talk a little bit about why those are things that you care about expressing?
Well, freedom is very important to me. I didn't grow up with freedom being something that was important for you to have in life. I had a very structured childhood and parents that encouraged a structured adult life. And, you know, you get a job, you do this, you do that, you have your plan. And freedom was not something that I aimed to have. And I cannot wait to teach this baby that freedom is the goal. Like freedom is, it's everything, especially in this country. And so embracing that is important to me. Wearing whatever I want. I love free flowing clothes, nothing tight, and just something that embodies that for me. I like to look unique and I like to look like a queen. So I often wear turbans that get me a little bit taller because you can't slump and look like a schlump in a turban. I mean, you're automatically a goddess when you have a turban on your head. So I wear these a lot when I go out, and they make me feel super goddess-like. And then having big jewelry with big crystals and big earrings with like Africa symbol or big spirals just sends out that, I feel it sends out that message of, look at me, I'm taking up space, I am a goddess. And we don't do that enough as women, take up space and claim our goddessness. So it feels really empowering to do that, and I love it.
Have you always been so free in your style and so expressive?
I think so. I think it started around middle school probably. So I would say, yeah, most of my life. My mother did a really good job at encouraging me to embrace what I wanted to wear and how I wanted to be, even when I was growing up and trying to fit into the certain cliques and people that were in middle school. We were in a military family. So we came to Georgia around 6th grade, which is where I am now. And I'd been living in Hawaii in a military family, and it was just like everyone just wears like skirts, and it's not like the clothing wasn't really a big deal until I came to 6th grade here, and it was a huge deal. And everyone cared about the brands and what you're wearing. So I tried to merge with the black girls who are wearing like Air Force Ones and baby fat and stuff. And that didn't work out because I didn't get those clothes. And then I tried to merge with the white girls who are wearing Abercrombie and all of their whatever clothes they were wearing, and I couldn't get the name brand clothes, so I gave up pretty quickly and just started wearing whatever the hell I wanted, and it worked out. I'm happy my mom was really encouraging of me being wacky and wearing what I wanted.
So even though she was really free with that, even though there was this sense that you had to live sort of a certain path in other ways.
Yeah, I think that's always there. Even now, we're on Instagram and you see things that you like, and then you see people that I see people that I admire their aesthetic, and I do see myself like diving into a box again, and I got to crawl my way back out and remind myself that this is me and there's no right or wrong. There are no rules. The path is really topsy-turvy.
And Instagram and social media can be positive and reinforcing of individuality, or they can be really disempowering and a lot of and really challenging to maintaining yourself. I think it can be really hard.
I agree, especially when you are trying to make a business or a brand out of it, the way that I have. You can get lost in the branding of it, and you start to brand yourself instead of brand what Earth Mama Medicine is, what I've built. And I've found myself getting lost into that branding and thinking, well, you need to wear the tie-dye or the earth tones or the this, and I can be whatever because Earth Mama is me. But yeah, I get lost sometimes in the branding of that too.
Lily and I have really had that challenge. That is a huge challenge for us. We so get that, like, because you evolve as a person,
right?
We don't stay the same. We're constantly changing, and of course, this moment in history is never one that is more about that. In terms of change and how what is happening around us or what is happening inside of us, is constantly changing and never the same. So, right. Yeah, we've definitely had a lot of struggles with that too. So we look forward to seeing how you evolve.
Can you now take off your turban and drop it on the floor?
Oh, the turban first.
Yeah. Amazing. Beautiful. Can you now talk a little bit about the assumptions that you think people make about you based on how you appear?
Oh, good one. The assumptions that people make about me are that I am a hippie. I am a free-spirited woman. I am vegan. I am the words that people use online that really irk me, like crunchy and granola type of woman who's natural and doesn't believe in Western medicine. Assumptions I've gotten have been that I am really, really, really educated in healthcare. I mean, I've gotten every single question you could think of under the sun that people should ask their doctors. And yeah, I guess that's probably the main assumptions I get. I'm crunchy, I'm granola, I'm natural, I'm hippie, and all that good stuff.
and how does that and how do you feel about that? How do you feel about those assumptions?
It's all right. I think assumptions are natural. It's like our way of having a shield up. So we see someone and we just like, we have to put boxes up so we can understand as soon as we see them. I do it sometimes too, to other people that I meet. And it's almost just fun because then when I do meet someone or I talk to them or I start to connect with them on a personal level, then I can open their eyes and start to open up the boxes and throw them all which ways. And then it becomes like a fun challenge to break the assumptions open. Most of them are almost true, I guess. But yeah, it doesn't really bother me at all. unless something is offensive, I guess. But I haven't really had much offensiveness come towards me.
And true, because you live a lifestyle that is actually really close to nature.
Absolutely.
And very much about holistic health and.
Absolutely. Honoring Mother Earth and using the tools Mama Earth has given us in priority against tools that man has created, I guess, for lack of a better explanation.
And has that always been an interest of yours? Was that something that you went into right from the beginning, or what's been your path with getting there? Maybe take something off, Lis, like a scarf, or you can take something off.
Ooh. Oh yeah. Good. So yeah, it definitely has not been a lifelong journey. It's probably been a journey within the past 4 years. I was training my entire life to be an actress. So that was elementary school, middle school. I was doing plays. I was going to dance practice and singing practice and all these, gearing my life to be a performer. I went to college for musical theater. I went to the top university actually in the United States for musical theater and got a degree in musical theater, a BFA in musical theater and acting. And as soon as I graduated, moved to New York and started working on Broadway, doing national Broadway tours, United States and Canada. And then because I was so blessed, I'm so grateful that my dream came true at such a young age, right out of college, that I was able to sit back and assess it, like, oh, okay, well, that was easy. Here we are. Is this it? And man, when I say it, it sounds so, I can't think of the word, but I was grateful. And I think we are able to assess our lives like this. Even if you do reach your dream, if it's not enough for you, it's not enough for you. And so it wasn't feeling like it was enough for me. I thought I would feel like this was it. I've been dreaming of being on Broadway. I made it. I'm 21. For some reason, that applause at the end of the show feels like there could be something more. And it all switched when a friend of mine who was on the second to last national tour I did, which was the Book of Mormon United States tour, she told me, we're in the room one day and probably like smoking or something, and she's like, when I sing, this wave rushes over me and I feel like I am like God, like I'm transcending, and I feel like I leave my body, and it is the most amazing feeling. Nothing feels better than when I sing. And I got emotional because I didn't feel like that. I'm a wonderful singer and I've sang my whole life and I'm talented in it, but I didn't feel like that when I sang or when I performed. It feels great. So I'm like, there's got to be something else then that's going to make me feel like that. And I guess that is what led me down a hole of just searching. And that's when I discovered living a more natural life, a life connected with Earth. I started diving into YouTube videos and teachers like Joe Dispenza and Ralph Smart, Infinite Waters, Teal Swan, all these teachers that are Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, teaching these life-changing ways of life. And that opened up everything for me. So while I was on tour, I decided I was going to go vegan. I don't know why that's like the thing that people do when they decide to change their life. But I decided to go vegan. And in order to be the best vegan I could be in my mind at that time, I wanted to just know more about food and not take all of my information about veganism from influencers, which is what I was doing, learning everything on Instagram and from memes that are like, this is murder, I wanted to know a little bit more from an unbiased perspective. So I enrolled in holistic nutrition school online through the Institute of Transformational Nutrition so I could become a holistic nutritionist, so I could actually know something when people ask me questions. So I did that while I was on tour and completed that. And that is where it all began. I really fell in love with food and nutrition and started Earth Mama Medicine as an Instagram account, which was really just like your cliche vegan account where I was posting meals and smoothie bowls. And then I began missing the acting portion, missing being in front of a camera or being the center of attention or people knowing who I was. So that's why I created the YouTube channel, was a way for me to merge storytelling and being in front of the camera with my new love for honoring Mother Earth and herbs and food and nutrition. And it expanded from there. And it feels so good to be in charge of my career.
That's actually an amazing message. And I think now more than ever, where people are probably questioning what they're doing or want to rethink what they're doing and want to gain some kind of control over their lives and not be at the beck and call of other people, to be employed. So that's an incredible message. And also, I think in terms of, people feeling like there's a certain pinnacle to be at, like there's this, a fame or Broadway or certain things that we all are saying, oh, if we get that validation, then we're happy. And that's not necessarily true, so I think that message is really incredibly powerful. That it's really something that you have to listen to inside of yourself and that there is no outside of yourself.
Yeah, it hit me hard. There was a big mourning process of acting, and I still miss it. And I'm not going to let go of it. I could return to Broadway when I'm 60. Who knows?
Can you take something off?
Yes. There it goes.
So can you talk about an insecurity that you have had in your life that you have overcome or that you're working on overcoming? A main or major or biggest insecurity?
Biggest insecurity that I feel like I'm on the end of overcoming, or I feel like I am overcoming actively now, is not being able to provide for myself in the fundamental ways of having enough money to have transportation and food and this and that, with having such a strong desire to not have a boss and to not have a conventional life. And my entire life, I've been told that you must have the boss and the conventional life to have the security, the financial security to grow and be happy and healthy and to thrive. But I'd like to say that I'm proving everyone wrong now, because I do live a pretty free life and do whatever I want. And I don't have a boss. My boss is me. And I have money and I have food and I have a house and a car, and it's working out and it feels great. And I have multiple incomes, so it doesn't feel like one day everything could just fall off the face of the earth and I'd be suffering. So I'm definitely overcoming that, but that's been my biggest insecurity, especially when I was wanting to be a performer. Many family members and people I loved saying that it's such a wishy-washy job. You can be the star of a Broadway show making $10,000 a week, and then the show closes and you're back to being a nobody, and you could not be a show. You could not get another show for 10 years. So you're waitressing again. Like it's such an unpredictable career path, and that always scared me. So I'm feeling pretty good about it now.
And that takes a lot of bravery, as I was just saying before. And so what are the things? What helped you? What were the voices? What were the things inside of you that you feel got you to this place where you could be empowered enough to take those steps into your fears like that?
Fear plays a wonderful role in our lives sometimes as a motivator. And for me, the fear of getting stuck always motivates me. I'm always looking for the next thing to do, the next project, the next exciting thing. And people that love astrology would say that's because I'm a Sagittarius. I don't get too caught up in that stuff, but I do know that that is how I am. So one moment that particularly sticks out to me is my father. And if you're watching, Dad, I love you. You're amazing. But this happened to me when I was in New York and I was getting ready to leave New York to move into my van with my now fiance, Matt. And we were just going to travel the world with my hairless cat and just take a break from life, just travel around. And we didn't even have any money yet for the idea. It was just an idea that I knew had to happen. And when I told my family this, my mom's like, yeah, that's awesome. And my dad's like, what? Absolutely not. You can't do that. You're working, you're finally made your dream come true. You need to stay in New York and keep making a name for yourself so people know who Valadia is. You just started, you're still young. And then of course, even my agent was like, that's the dumbest thing you could possibly do because you just touched the tip. And people need to keep seeing you come into the audition room. They need to know because, I mean, the theater world is so small in New York. Everyone knows everyone. So yeah, it was not a good decision if you want to keep going in Broadway, in theater. But I didn't care. I was ready to take a break. So my dad says, well, what about Taraji P. Henson? Like, she's been acting for a while, but she just got her big break in her 40s, which is true. She's been in a ton of movies when she was young, but now she's like, everyone knows the name Taraji P. Henson. And when he said that, he thought it was going to motivate me to stay in New York and wait until I'm 45 to get that big movie or whatever. But it was like the scariest thing I'd ever heard because that was the worst idea I could think of. Sitting around for the next 30 or 20 years and waiting for someone to make me something. So that motivated me. And I was like, cool. So I'm not doing that. We're getting the van and we're gonna leave and we'll see what happens. And yeah, that was it. That was it for me. That was that conversation that changed everything.
Yeah, and I can personally really relate to that. I've never done anything conventional and started StyleLikeU at 50. And I remember I was a fashion stylist in the fashion industry. And when people said, I said, I'm going off to film people in their closets and talk about what they're wearing and why they're, and about their style and their spirit and, which is how we started 10 years ago. And I'm going to go do that now because I can't no longer be happy doing what I was doing then for reasons I'm not going to get into right now. Everyone was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're just going to go to everyday people, like not celebrities, and you're going to go and you're going to do what? And clearly it was the best thing I've ever done in my whole life. So yeah, really, and I think instincts are such, something that maybe gets a little bit lost these days, in, I don't know, somehow, everyone feeling like they have to be famous and rich at a certain age. And I know somehow we lose our instincts. And I think they're really, they're super important to listen to.
I agree.
So can you take something else off?
Yeah. Can you take, maybe jewelry first.
Okay.
Yeah. Like just your a couple pieces. Yeah, your bracelets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about anything that you have shame around?
Ooh. What do I have shame around? I have had shame around my body. I don't now because I'm doing something pretty miraculous. But I bet you it'll creep back up after this baby comes earthside and I have a whole new body to meet and get to know. I mean, there's going to be a whole new person on the other side of that birth, I'm sure, that will be staring back at me in the mirror. So that's going to be a new journey. But there's always been some body insecurity, especially returning back to the performing aspect where everyone's telling you have to make sure that you stay fit and don't get too big, don't get too this, don't get too that. You have to stay into what your type is. And I was always that curvy black girl with the afro type. So keep your butt big, but keep your stomach small and all that good stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's been ingrained in me since I was a child, unfortunately. But I had wonderful parents who, like, it's not like I had any verbal abuse that was telling me, lose weight or whatever. But yeah, it's there. It is there. I mean, with with agents and things like that, it's most definitely there. And then with family members who are older, like grandparents, who every time you see them, you're getting big or you're getting small or, Lord, that stuff is exhausting. And then, of course, it actually got a little destructive when I first started Earth Mom Medicine, and Earth Mom Medicine started to become big on YouTube. And I'm thinking, everyone is looking at me as this health guru. So I can't, I have to keep myself looking fit. I can't be someone who's a health guru and not be fit and have, especially when I got, oh God, last year I got this crazy acne that just exploded on my face for no reason. And I was extremely insecure about it. Extremely. I never had acne in my life. And all of a sudden I turned 25 and it exploded. And yeah, I just thought no one's going to listen to me anymore. I'm over here talking about herbs and foods and this for health and vibrancy. And who's going to listen to an herbalist with a pizza face? Like, yeah, because obviously she can't get herself together. So why would I listen? I mean, those are the harsh thoughts I have in my head.
Wow.
Haven't you gone to the doctor's office before and this huge fat man comes in and you're like, how are you going to help me get healthy?
Yeah.
You don't take care of yourself. Unfortunately, those are the thoughts we have. So yeah, that's
but that's a pretty, like, to immediately assume, like, I think it's really interesting and really honest to say that when you have something erupts, I mean, we all have issues, like everybody, it's part of being human, that we are immediately embarrassed and don't feel that we're okay or good enough with those things. Like, I think that's, really something to bring out to the surface.
Yeah.
Because, having acne doesn't mean that you can't be, it doesn't mean you're not a healthy person.
Absolutely. It could mean you're just a highly stressed person who's extremely healthy.
Right. Yeah. Or a number of things.
Yeah, a number of things.
Yeah. And
what about pregnant? Like, can you talk a little bit about like how pregnancy has like washed away the shame around your body? Like, what do you think that's about, and what has that process been like?
Well, I think I would be doing a huge disservice to our Creator by being ashamed of the way I look right now. I mean, this is some divine stuff happening in my body right now. And I mean, I've got wider hips, I've got cellulite going crazy all down my leg. It's all amazing. Right now, my baby's kicking me. It's amazing. I just grew this thing. Like, I can't find anything to be ashamed about. I've gotten thicker. My face is chubbier. Well, everything's chubbier, but who's going to say anything? I mean, and so that kind of does give me an answer. Maybe a lot of my shame comes from the worry of what people will say. And I know for a fact that no one will say anything now, because what are you going to say? You're an asshole if you say anything about my body right now.
Always, but
always, yeah. Always, absolutely. I was just about to say it. Always.
I know. Yeah. But And so, but does that like teach you something? Is there something about the experience of being pregnant that like, do you feel is like teaching you something about like how you hope to relate to your body or like want to relate to your body regardless of being pregnant? Like, is it changing the way you think about like bodies in general?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because even when we're not creating life as pregnant people, your body is still doing something pretty miraculous. I could be having a conversation and there's a million cells that are, and hormones and everything that's communicating to help me have this conversation and move my hands and take a breath while I'm doing it, and digestion's happening. And it's just a pretty wonderful thing to be a human on this planet. We have no idea what this is all about. But like I said first, I think it is doing a huge disservice to the creator, whatever the creator is, by judging this chunk of meat. It's not about the chunk of meat and bones at all. It's about how our soul within interacts with this experience. We are the creator. We are of it. It says it in every religious text in the world. So we are it expressing itself right now. I mean, if you can get with that, then what are you worried about the chunk of bones for? So I'm thinking pregnancy is totally helping me get into that.
Yeah, I have a few things to say to that. That's amazing. I think we're always creating. You're creating now with your child. You're creating when you followed your instincts and decided not to wait till your 40s, to step into your fears and become self-sufficient and your own boss. We're always creating. It's a constant state of creation, and a constant challenge to like stay there, to understand that our soul and the spirit or whatever it is that created us, that is constantly trying to express itself. And I think actually the repression of that and the oppression of that, the repression of it is what creates unhappiness and ill health within us. And the oppression of that is what creates unhappiness and ill health in our society.
Absolutely.
Can you take off maybe your necklaces?
Yes. One.
I love them, by the way. They're really beautiful.
Thank you. This one I'm taking off now is particularly special. A friend sent it. This crystal is my favorite crystal, fluorite, which symbolizes me. And then the lapis lazuli symbolizes my partner, Matt, and the amethyst symbolizes the baby. And he's got one that looks very similar. It was a wonderful baby, happy pregnancy gift. So we're all connected.
They're beautiful.
Oh, it feels good to take the jewelry off. There we go.
I just want to say one more thing about the body and the pregnancy body. We also did a video with Alexa Wilding about body and pregnancy, and she talks a lot about, what is this idea that we need to go back to our maiden body after that we strive, that we kill ourselves to go back to the body before we had a child.
Yeah, I know there will definitely be no bounce back. That bounce back term is not in my vocabulary. I know that there will be a new woman looking at me in the mirror, and I'll be her. I'm not going back.
Yeah.
And how is it feeling right now, like to be knowing that you're giving birth like amidst such a like vulnerable, uncertain time? Like, how has that been impacting you, and what have you been thinking and feeling around that?
I'm a lot more outraged at how others are being affected than I am myself. And I've been processing a lot of emotion around that. Even today, it was last night, I was crying, reading a new thing happening in Canada where people who birth are now being forced to have epidurals so that they can be easily transferred to C-section. And this is everyone.
Because they don't want the hospitals.
Because they believe that a cesarean section is a better option right now because it's a more sterile room, because it's surgery. So they're urging, and they're doing that in the United States too, they're urging everyone who's birthing in the hospital to opt for a cesarean section. Tons of midwives are telling women that, birthing people. And now in a few hospitals in Canada, that is mandatory. And if you don't want to have an epidural, you just can't come in. You have to find another hospital or do whatever you want. So that is absolutely infuriating. It's a human rights violation. It's wrong. And there have been tons. That's only one. There have been tons of people that have been violated, pregnant people that have been violated during this time because of this. And it's heartbreaking. I am feeling more grateful than I've ever felt to be living out here in the middle of nowhere, in the woods, away from a big city. I never planned a hospital birth in the beginning. I haven't believed in hospital births in years. So that was never my goal. I've always known I was going to have the baby here in my living room with my family. And so I am just so happy that that's where my life path has taken me, to being in that place. And I just hope that I really pray and hope that other birthing people right now are able to feel empowered enough to take the reins and change their plan, even if it's last minute. Just if you don't have any health concerns where you don't have to be in the hospital, stay the fuck home, please. Oh my God. I mean, people are writing me as I'm sharing it on my story with these traumatic births that are happening right now because they're letting the healthcare system take over. And I don't want to get too political with it because I could talk about this for hours, but that's just how I'm feeling. I'm feeling so sensitive right now. I'm feeling all of the birthing people in my heart right now.
Well, I think that what you're doing, it's a revolution that's happening, natural births, and it's really needed because I think, myself included, we're a society of traumatized, wounded children from births being dictated by the wrong people.
Yeah.
And so it's not, it's no small thing. It's huge. It's a huge, and it's an admirable, really admirable, and you shouldn't, there's nothing to apologize for. Your sensitivity to it. It's really, really important because it has a lot to do with the world that we live in and we're going to live in. And what more important thing than to bring a child into the world in the most natural and loving way? I mean, there isn't anything, right? What would be more important? That's our ultimate responsibility. Can you take something else off?
Yes. Earrings, maybe?
What's your biggest fear?
Right now, it's definitely a birth fear. That's all I'm thinking about right now is birth. So I guess my biggest fear would be that we'd end up going to the hospital or having to go to the hospital. Yeah, I really, really, really do not want to go to the hospital and have to have this special, sacred, transformative, beautiful moment turn into me fighting everybody who's coming at me, because that's what it would be. It would be a warrior moment, which would cause complications because I'd now have to be defending all my decisions and being a thinker instead of being able to just transcend into that theta state, which is what I plan on doing at home. That's my biggest fear, having to go to the hospital. And also, of course, biggest fear is having a birth here, but something happening to my child. Yeah.
It is a tremendous responsibility.
Absolutely. But I when I think about it, and when I decided to birth here at home with my family, I said it's going to be a huge responsibility either way. Either I decide to go to the hospital and something traumatic happens to me and or baby in the hospital because I decided to give them power over my birth. And when I look back on it, I will be so upset for years and years to come because I let that happen. Or something happens here and I will be so upset because this happened. So either way, there's a huge amount of responsibility, and I decided that me taking all of my responsibility with the best intentions, I would be able to handle that more than giving it all to someone else when I knew I shouldn't have deep within in the first place. So if something bad happens, I had the best intentions, and hopefully at some point I would be able to forgive myself, and so would baby.
Totally. Yeah. How do you handle like fear? It sounds like, yeah. How do you handle fear, like those moments of fear, and stay true to yourself, even despite it, amidst it, like, yeah.
Yeah, I just got to get real with it. I think the best thing for us as people to do, and this is a really new thing for me within the past like 6 months, is I love manifesting and all that good vibe stuff, but you can't ignore the fear because then it's louder. It's like so backwards. So I have to process my fears. I've written all this stuff down. I've written down everything that I think could possibly happen in the birth. And it's not manifesting it. It's not bringing that energy closer. It's getting it out so that you can transmute it into something else. And so that's how I process it. Anything I'm worried about, I've already talked about it. I've already processed it. Well, maybe not fully processed it, but I've met it. We've said hello and shook hands. And it's really all happened because of this birth work. So it's going to be really nice and enlightening to see how it transfers into mothering, which is going to be a whole nother set of fears. And even just fears that are about myself, not even just the baby or relationship or anything else. Meeting it firsthand, shaking hands with it, and knowing it's valid, but it's not serving me.
Can you take like hair thing? Like, is there hair to come down?
There is a hair tie.
Cool.
Oh Lord. Bringing it out.
Beautiful.
There it is.
Beautiful.
When do you feel the most vulnerable?
I feel the most vulnerable. I wonder why that question is hard to answer.
Take your you can take your time.
I guess I feel the most vulnerable when I'm feeling the need to defend myself. And perhaps when I'm feeling the need to defend myself against people who I love deeply or people who I admire, look up to.
Can you give like an example without like naming names or anything, but just like a more specific kind of incident where you would maybe feel that way?
Yes. So my birth journey has been one of them. People I love that I'm close to, having to defend my choices of staying at home and having an unmedicalized birth leaves me extremely, extremely vulnerable and emotional. So much so to where I just have kept a lot of people out of the loop and just kept it to myself. Maybe even defending random topics about health or this or that with someone that I look up to and I think is really intelligent and more intelligent than me. I am super vulnerable because I want to be right, or I just want to be respected and heard. And there's all these things coming back at me because they are someone I hold to a high standard. And maybe even to my YouTube channel. I don't know who's watching on the other side, but it's the World Wide Web. And people get brave behind the keyboard. And people say anything. So I feel really vulnerable, like now. Or even in videos that I'm able to edit. Because, you know, when it comes back, it's out there, and it could be out there forever, even if I delete it. Who knows how the internet is super complex. So, yeah.
We understand. Yeah, it's interesting how much more vulnerable it is to receive like criticism or something from someone you really respect than from.
Oh, yeah.
It's so different. Yeah. Yeah.
And to be misunderstood.
To be misunderstood.
To be misunderstood is painful.
It is.
Painful.
Yeah.
But you keep going. It sounds, I mean, how do you still put yourself out there? You still say yes to things like this? Like, why?
Because it's needed. There's so much on the internet that is not vulnerability and not authenticity and planned and staged and this and that. And because for every negative comment and criticism, there are 1,000 comments of praise. People writing me saying, thank you for this video because this happened. Thank you for this because of this. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And that is much stronger than the criticism and the hate. And for those people, I keep going. And for myself, it still feels good to share. I'm able to brush off negativity pretty quickly. And criticism pretty quickly. And that I think the acting helped with that because, you know, you're going into audition room and they just say all sorts of things to you after you bared your soul. So that gave me thick skin.
Yeah, it's like all rejection, pretty much.
Yeah, it is like, you better get ready.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can you take off whatever you want?
Yeah, your shirt or your skirt or belly.
Oh, feels good.
It does. Are you hot?
Yeah, I've been getting really hot these past couple weeks. Matt complains a lot because I'm always wanting to have the fan going high and the air going. Just a lot of extra body to love.
I must say I envy being pregnant because it was for me, especially with the first, no slight, Lily, but like, you know, that feeling of fullness and
Yeah.
You know, you just feel such a incredibly peaceful sense of completion.
Yeah.
And with the first, I only say that because you're not exhausted.
Do you feel like you've had like there's a different relationship that you have to like taking care of yourself and not getting, you said, or I don't know if you said this during the interview or when we were testing earlier that you're not, or was, I don't know, maybe it was yesterday when we talked, I don't remember, but you said like you're not stressed. You said you're like feeling good because you're not stressed. And I'm wondering, like, is that a state that's like common for you, or do you think that's partially because you're like protecting not only yourself but like another being, like that you're taking extra care of yourself and like not letting things stress you out? Is there a difference between, like, is there a difference now versus before you were pregnant, and what stresses you out, how you let stressful things affect you?
Yeah, definitely the latter. I have paid a lot more attention to my stress levels with this being inside of me so that they don't have to experience it. And And like we've said for many of the questions, it's going to help me learn to process stress outside of pregnancy, because I'm still just as precious even when I'm not growing a baby. Something that I tell my health clients all the time that always blows their mind is, when you have a baby, would you feed the baby Coca-Cola for all their beverages and McDonald's 3 times a day and this and that? And they say, absolutely not. And I say, why? And they say, because it's a baby, it's a new human and they're developing. And I say, exactly. So what is the difference between you and that baby? And then they're quiet, because no one wants to say, well, I'm not as important. But that's essentially what you're doing when you don't treat yourself like that baby, because you're not growing as fast and you might be done developing, but you are still evolving. Our cells are still creating new pieces of us until we get close to crossing over. So it does help some people when they're trying to, have health goals or just treat themselves better, to imagine themselves as a baby before they reach for that thing that they know is not serving them. So in pregnancy, I am sort of treating myself like a baby, just taking a lot more care nutritionally, physically, mentally, with everything I do, stretching and going on walks and doing things that I wasn't doing before I was pregnant. So I'm hoping that when I'm not, I can remember I'm just as precious. Like you were saying, I'm still creating.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. And there's nothing more beautiful than that belly. I mean, it's
someone told me on Instagram that it looks like the sun.
It's so beautiful.
I was like, what a nice comment. Thanks.
Yeah. Yes, it's just everything. So something off.
Yeah, so we have your skirt and we have your rings, and then is that it?
Oh, so you could do rings.
Yeah, that's rings. It. Rings and skirt.
Okay, rings. Can you take off your rings?
Mm-hmm.
So when do you feel the most beautiful?
Oh, what a good question. I feel the most beautiful. God, I feel really beautiful now being pregnant, and probably just because I'm getting flooded with "you are beautiful" all the time. Mm-hmm. Outside of being just because of pregnancy, I feel the most beautiful. Ooh, now it got hard. It's got to be when I tell myself. Because now, with having a large online following, and this is not to sound any which way, it's just I get told it all the time. So you become desensitized to people telling you you're pretty, you're beautiful, you're pretty, beautiful, and I don't believe any of it anymore. It's just like what people say. So I feel the most beautiful when I tell myself I'm beautiful in the mirror, usually when I don't have any makeup on and I'm about to go to sleep and I'm just like lotioned up and I'm just looking at my face and I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty freaking hot right now. I look good. I think that's when I feel the most beautiful. It feels the most genuine coming from myself.
Amazing.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Which is where it ultimately really needs to be coming from, right? I mean,
yes.
You're not like wobbling in the outer, it's not about other people. So you're not, which feels very uncertain. So,
yes.
Yeah, that's definitely something with age that you have to deal with more and more, because there is such we have such strong, ageism is such a huge thing. And you do definitely notice with age that people say it to you a lot less. So that really becomes a challenge to feel it anyway. I feel that way. And I do feel it, and I have felt it anyway. It feels a little bit like what you were saying about refusing to be told, what to do with your life or your career, and just refusing, so yeah, you have to sort of refuse. and just, believe it yourself.
Absolutely.
So can you take off
your skirt? Yeah.
Your skirt.
Where did I tie it? I haven't worn the skirt in a long time, and I realized today it was like I tied it at the very last centimeter it had.
Yeah, have you had to buy anything new, or you're just filled with like things like this that can work?
I have a lot of things like that can work, but also I bought all underwear.
Yeah.
Because my underwear was too tight and I did not like that. So I've got tons of granny panties that I like to pull up to here that feel comfortable. And I bought a few sweatpants, because my leggings and flowy pants were getting a little too tight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and bras for sure.
Oh yeah, boobs, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so last question. Why in your body? Why in your journey? Why in your skin? Why is it a good place to be?
It's a good place to be because it is an adventure. It's never boring. There's always going to be something new till the day this experience is over. It's a roller coaster ride, and I take pride in that, and that's who I am. And I promise to myself that I'm never going to let it get boring. My path is always going to be swirly, and that's why it's wonderful to be in this body.
Thank you all so much for joining us for our second live stream of the What's Underneath project with Galadia of Earth Mama Medicine. If you're inspired by the video series and are interested in possibly sharing your story, the instructions for how you can submit yourself to be part of our live stream series are in the description below. And also, if you're inspired, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel over there and ring the bell so that you get notified when we have a new live stream or a new episode of any of our video series moving forward. And also don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Thank you so much.
Love you all. Thanks for joining. See you next time.